Abba, Father, how my heart longs to take each one of you by the hand and generate in your consciousness the bliss and blessed experiences of our octave of light. All that I am, and all that every ascended master is placed at the disposal of the lowliest individual in the kingdom of God, to enable them to have the blessed ease in their feelings which their hearts long for. To surmount obstacles is the desire of the earnest in heart. To wipe away the webs of shadow and darkness, to disperse all negatively qualified energy, to part the veil of illusion, and to feel the vibratory action of the light of God coursing through one's being, even as the energy of the blood, charged with the pure oxygen and nous of the air, does cause mankind to become temporarily renewed moment by moment, and to obtain from life momentary reality. But what is that? That is a passing thing. I am concerned with the permanent parting of the veils of illusion, with a forward step that knows no backward gait. Hear me then this night, for I have proposed to the karmic board that we might this night perform an activity of great assistance to the many life streams who have came here unto this place, that they might receive some essential information, some great assistance that would propel them forward into a divine manifestation for which their souls hunger and for which they thirst. Purity of purpose is the desire of such as these, and they deplore every error which they have created. Yet we, as the Christ, stand not to condemn men, but to say to all, go and sin no more. Lift up thy heads, lift up thy hearts, lift up thy consciousness, and understand that by the power of the sweet star of forgetting, men are able to remember that which they ought to remember. Surely the mind cannot be occupied correctly with two thoughts at a given moment. Therefore, when the heart and the mind and the being of man are concerned and captivated by the all-encompassing power of his ever-flowing light and love, his wisdom and his deliverance, they cannot be caught by the snares of the world and the darkness of mortal creation, of thought and of feeling. I am come then tonight, charged with the love of the living Christ, that I might bring to all an experience of the Divine One. It is therefore my hope tonight that you will permit me entree into your world as the initiator, that I may start in you, utilizing the God flame within, the tripartite flame, the threefold flame, as it were, of love, wisdom, and power, and causing an expansion within the force field of your consciousness of that divine power, of that divine intelligence, and of that divine love. Here then is the way that we propose to lead. We say to you tonight, recognizing by an act of faith that you have a threefold flame within your heart, activated by the very consciousness of God in the beginning, and pulsating with his love, light, life, and power, we ask that you shall consciously join with us in the expansion of that flame. We desire to see that flame expand tonight far beyond that which has been the measure of its existence within the world of your being. Pulsate then in the name of God, O flame of holy will, within all who will receive it. Pulsate, O holy will, O will to live as God lives, O will to see his face, O will to behold how the universe vanishes in a pinch of cosmic energy, and in its place there is perceived the star of reality behind the universe, the sun of reality that is within you all, the day star and touchstone by which all intelligence is cognized. There is a point of light then within the mind of God, and there is then a point of light within the mind of man, and the point of light within the mind of God shall surely enter in to the point of light within the mind of man. And therefore, by the will of God, the divine nature is imparted unto all who will receive it, be it but for a moment. It can be made a permanent gift, for such is the intent of life, when man permits it and desires the existence of this within the force field of themselves, to magnetize and to draw forth this wonderful spirit, to permit the ingress of the light, to commune with the light, to become the light, to bask in the light, to understand the light, and to know that the light, the Christos, is the reality of life, and is the consecrated effort which flooded the mind of Jesus the Christ. Understand then, all of you, that the power of God to infuse the cells of your body with his cosmic energy already exists as pattern, for each cell has its own centrosome, and the centrosome has a potential quickedness within it, the quickening of the spirit. You have then but to realize that there is within each cell a point of light. This is in minutiae. It is small. It seems insignificant, and its energies are encompassed around by dense shadow and substance of human misqualification and miscreation. Understand then that tonight I am asking the lords of karma to set aside for the moment a great deal of this substance, and to cause the dross to be drawn off by the angels of blue flame, and to see that in the name of God there is a buoyancy created first within your consciousness and then within your physical forms. You must understand today, even tonight, how that you are able, by the power of faith, to consider the universe to be a sea of light. And this is a light of great delight. It is the light of God that never fails. And this is the light in which you live, in which you move, and in which you have your being. Relinquish then your own personal identity, a sense of personal existence, and cognize that you are a point of light swimming within the sea of the Eternal One. Close your eyes and enter in deeply into the heart of the eternal power of light emanation. Energy, man, manifestation of light, to emanate, to pour forth by grace, not by confusion, by light, not by delusion. Pour forth then, O light of God that never fails. I do not require even to raise my voice to command nature, for when I speak, it is fulfilled, for it is a fiat which God has permitted me to control, a fiat which every ascended master wields, and which you also, by the acceptance of your full destiny, can one day wield to the glory of God and the magnificent manifestation of imparting to lesser manifestations the gifts that your own life stream has externalized from the Father's heart. Enter deeply now into a realization of your own reality. Feel no sense of flesh existence, but feel the buoyant, dancing joy of living flame pulsing within each cell. As your heart beats, recognize that it is a heart of light, and there surges through your flesh forms the power of the Infinite One, the power to rejuvenate, to recharge, to heal, to consecrate your efforts, to ennoble your mind, and to raise you up out of human doldrums and sense consciousness. into the domain of spiritual achievement. You were there once, and you knew the wonderful grasp of the cosmic law of your own being. You stood there once, bereft of a flesh form, but being pure spirit, the pure manifestation of God. You had no sense of weight nor of oppression. Neither were you limited by the claustrophobic sense which mankind have from time to time of being confined to one place. You inhabited all space, and time was as a great loom, and you could pass the shuttle of your attention through this loom and weave beautiful patterns, wondrous to behold, and find a joy in the concepts that flooded across your mind, knowing that the source of those wonderful concepts was the consciousness of God, shared with you a breaking of the bread of his immortal substance. He then, who has loved life free in many past instances, will also tonight love you free if you permit it. But oh, if there is a hardness in your feelings, if there is a doubt within your consciousness, if you will insist upon holding fast to mortal thought and feeling, I am certainly aware that you may not experience that which we desire. However, I have asked for a great cosmic tone to sound, and as that tone sounds at inner levels, it comes to pass that I shall raise you all into a higher state of consciousness according to your free will, as you surrender to me and to the power of life which beats your heart, recognizing that you surrender thus unto God and unto the ascended master consciousness and unto the life that desires to impart to you the fullness of the abundant life. As the tone is now sounding, I ask you to let go of all feeling, of all consciousness, but listen to my words as I speak, and feel yourself buoyed up upon this sea as it rises and falls with the undulations of God's heart. Now love, now wisdom, now power, surging and surging throughout nature. Recognize that your mind can fly apart from the body. Your feelings and sensations blend with the stars, with myriad suns and systems of worlds, that the tones of those systems of worlds, as they turn upon their axes, can be heard by you, a beautiful hum, a hum of the cosmic infinite power, the power of the Om. Will you then, one and all, chant with me 9 times the sacred tone Aum? Aum. 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 Sound of the universe is the sound of universal love, and in the ascended master conclaves, as the hours roll, we listen to the sound of Om, Aum, and of the other vibratory actions of the word. We have actually spent as much as 20 years listening to the sound of Aum in some of our meditations. Can you imagine the joy that we must take in doing it? Consider then the fetishes of mortal thought and feeling, and observe how men are captivated by delusions of the senses. They think that they would be bored to praise God and say unto him, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. Yet the blessed covering cherubim rejoice in the privilege of doing this without ceasing. There must then be something in human consciousness that does not fit the patterns of initiation, a certain restlessness of mortal thought and feeling, an awareness of turning away from the light within to the exterior mold where the vibratory action of one life stream disturbs another. And this is the truth which you must recognize and understand, that one life stream disturbs another by dissonance, by inharmony, by the sound of clash and clamor, by the desire of the ego to express. While men say, we are devoted to a cause, they have proven by their actions that the cause is themselves, and God has been left out. All who have placed God first have found the true devotion to self, for the true self is the reality of God, for there is no other reality in existence save the reality of God. And if any other consciousness could exist in the universe other than the consciousness of God, God would be other than God. And God is the vibratory action of his own word called forth from the Ungrund, the word, the uncreated void, having given birth through the womb of creation of the word alive forevermore. And this vibratory action of the sacred Aum, the Amen, the great Amen, the great I Am, is one and the same. It is being, reality, existence, bliss, and joy. And the angels have it. And men, thinking of the angels as servitors of God, sometimes pity them and say, what a pity to be forced to serve the Most High God and do his bidding. This, then, is the penalty men pay for fraudulent nonsense. They become enmeshed in a web of their own creation, and they find that they are surrounded by the vibratory action of unhappiness. God desires to remove the webs. He desires to give all the impartation of his cosmic light. And therefore tonight, as you have chanted the Aum, I, Maitreya, mindful of the light upon the mountain, mindful of the summit of each man's being, mindful of the living soul pulsing within, call unto you to understand that I am about to perform another act of service in the interest of the remission of man's sin. I have asked, therefore, for 12 legions of angels to come forth tonight and to chant for you the sacred Aum. I have asked them to chant the mantram of being. Some of you, if you listen, may hear them now as they have commenced. Others will feel, perchance, the glow ray of their activity. If you do not feel it, trouble not your hearts, for the activity of it will be readily apparent to you one of these days, when the latent action commenced this night begins to awaken your world to an awareness of the initiatic process, whereby man becomes more than man. Man becomes more than man because he cognizes the divinity that has shaped his ends from the beginning, and recognizes the need to relinquish his own grasp upon the reins of life and enter into the heart of his divine presence, and there to once again seize the reins from the presence by the direction of the Holy Christ intelligence. Thus is the light and banner of Maitreya upon the mountain, summoning the elect from the four corners of the earth to awaken to the second coming of the Lord Christ as he comes as a thief in the night and steals into the hearts of the multitudes, causing them to obtain grasp of his principles and understand that when they hold a child in their arms, that they are in reality the Christ in action, and that they invoke his love to pour through their hands and flesh form. This requires, I admit, a more than ordinary consecration. It requires the relinquishment of some of the habits which you have fallen into. It requires assistance from the Godhead to strike a blow in the name of God, to break the shackles which you have forged around yourself. It requires much activity of light, even as you have given, ignorantly and in unbelief, a great deal of energy to the powers of darkness, shadow, and unreality. I wish to clear up a point, for someone had the concept in their mind that I was referencing that mankind were engaged in nefarious activities of blackness and shadow. I did not mean to imply, and I wish to correct this in the mind of the individual who thought it, that mankind en masse were all thinking to the point of blackness. It is often but a matter of a gray tone, for there is a great deal of desire in men, far more than they are credited with, to do good, to be active in serving the Most High God. It is just that the shadow of miscreation is created because men are ignorant and because they are victims of their own malpractice, their own habits of faithlessness, their own habits of destructivity, and the power of mimicry, which we might call tonight, by way of evoking a smile from your lips, human monkey shines. I say to you then that you must stand upright, not according to the concepts of Darwinian evolution, whereby man is proclaimed to have descended from monkeys and often acts like it, but rather men and women must understand that their spines are erect. They are not four-footed beasts that walk the earth. Their heads are pointed upward, and the medulla oblongata is capable of receiving the vibratory action of our light. Sanctissima. O holiness of the sacred fire, revel in these hearts. Buoy them up. Let them feel the sacred fire activated within their flesh form, within their spirits and within their minds. Make them to know, if but for a flash of a second, the glimmering magic of thy face, O God. Proclaim it from the housetops. Shout it out unto all the world. The Lord God of hosts reigneth within the flesh forms of men, in whom he is long manifested. And now he proclaims himself King of kings within their hearts. He is Lord of lords. He is God of gods. Yea, God of very gods. Won't you please be seated? The veil within the human temple must be rent in twain. The veil of illusion must part. And by initiation, reality will shine forth. Beware, however, of the penalty for engaging in automatic writing, in psychic activity, and in all of those things which are contrary to ascended master law. Take heed that you understand that there is no need for man to do these things which tie in to the psychic world. The Ouija board and many of these other activities bring mankind downward. I tell you, there are few upon the planet who understand how to operate the cards of the tarot. You ought to understand then that the safest and best journey for the elect is under the direction of the ascended masters. How that men ought to study their words and to pray unto them, to call unto them, to seek initiation, to be a real person, to be a divine person, to activate the flow of cosmic energy within your force fields by sounding the word, by humming the majestic concept of the living Christ, by feeling the surge of the resurrection current, by entering in to the power within the Holy of Holies of your own being. Men do not have to go outside themselves to find salvation, for the kingdom of heaven is within you. And that kingdom that is within you is our kingdom. Brothers and sisters, children of the sun, those dormant ones in whom the sleeping flame seeks to devour the carnal mind and produce the wonders of our love, understand that tonight there has occurred an event of great magnitude here in this room, and it is even now occurring, for chrysalis has taken place. And we find a manifestation of 12 masters of wisdom from the temple of the sun standing round about this entire room and circling this entire building with their love light. These 12 masters are extending swords of flame out into the atmosphere in order to produce in your consciousness the necessary changes that will help you to enter into the spirit of Christ's sanity, Christ's intelligence, Christ's devotion, Christ's adoration, Christ's magnificence, Christ's healing power, Christ's exaltation, Christ's resurrection, and Christ's ascension. All of this activity is a direct intention of the hierarchy. For if we can tonight justify the experiment, and we can bring to pass out of the life streams that are here a cosmic reality of being, then certainly the end here, the divine end, will have justified the means. And the means we have employed is to take our energy and invest it on your behalf in order to produce those miracles of thought and feeling which you yourselves have not merited directly by some specific act according to karmic law. And therefore tonight we have extended to you the right hand of fellowship. We have given you a cosmic grant. We have offered our energy on your behalf, and we have sponsored you as children of the sun, as children of the elect. Now then, what you will do with this energy is directly up to you. And if, blessed ones, you justify the expenditure of that energy within 12 months, we will be able to expand it 100-fold in a special activity for and on behalf of the mankind of earth. And I think you can see the handwriting on the wall from here, that the moving finger writes and having writ moves on, and that in this case we hope that no one will even consider the canceling or the washing out of one line of it, for this is not a matter of human wit, but it is a matter all the way and to wit for the freedom of man in this day and age, and according to the plan which does say, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The Lord God of hosts made the universe, and he made it for the glory of himself and all whom he created. And man today are not sharing the glory, they are sharing the gloom of dispersion, because they have fallen away from the Edenic state of consciousness into a mortal, crusty state of consciousness which does not give them the happiness God desires to expand. And therefore this is the entire purpose of our plan tonight, is for the consecration of light energy within the force field of your being, and the consecration of light energy within the force field of your mind, and the outflow of the light of God that never fails into the world of form to consecrate our power to the four corners of the earth. And therefore I say, O Gabriel, thou messenger of God, go forth tonight to the mystic east and carry the ribbons of our light streaming forth from the banner of Maitreya. Go forth to the west, O beloved Zadkiel, and say, hail to thee, O thou west. To the farthest west carry this banner, the banner of Maitreya. And we say also then to that great and magnificent Prince Michael, go forth to the east also. And we say also unto that blessed and magnificent Lord Uriel, go forth to the west. And we say unto Lord Moriel, go forth to the south, and carry unto the people of South America and the southern hemisphere the light of Maitreya's banner. And we say unto Saint Germain, go forth to the north, and let there be a polar action that shall cause the very axis of the earth to understand that the rod of power within the heart of the earth, manifesting from the heart of Lord Gautama at Shambhala, is activated tonight in the magnetization according to the law of amber of that great static charge of cosmic power from the great central sun, that shall direct a rising tide of cosmic energy upon the earth planet itself, which energy shall go forth to initiate the earth and cause her to understand that if she does not fulfill her cosmic purpose, she shall reel to and fro as a drunken man. And this shall come to pass because the laws of God will have been violated. I trust you tonight, then, to act as emissaries of our divine intelligence and to understand that there is absolutely no question but what this activity is a direct flow from the very heart of God for the salvation of mankind, and through the power of the cosmic Christ vested in me, which I exercise tonight in response to the calls of the saints, those who are ascended, in response to the calls of mankind unascended, who have loved and served Saint Germain and your beloved Jesus, who have understood the message of the resurrection flame, and who realize that the arrows that fly by day and the terrors that fly by night, the psychic grips of darkness that terrorize the world, are not the intention of Almighty God, but stem from the denizens of the underworld, who have no power except that which they have stolen from mankind as their birthright. And one day the cockatrice den and the roar of their substance shall no longer be heard in the world, for they shall stand upon the sides of the pit, and the voice of God, the sacred word, shall consume them in an instant by his outgoing breath, and it shall come to pass that never shall they be any more. And in their place the righteous shall stand as the sons of God, arrayed in robes of light, the magnitude of cosmic initiation, and all that is evil and dross and mortal shall be replaced by all that is benign and that is illuminating and that is immortal. And you, blessed one, shall stand in the robes that you have worn and honored by your office, and we shall hold your hand and say unto you, Friend, thou comest hither because thou lovest. Thou comest hither because thou servest. Thou comest hither because thou acceptest that which we have given out of the generosity of the heart of God, and from the power of the 3 times 3, and out from the great central sun, the majesty of God has swept forth. And surely it is not a vain thing, and surely the elect shall see it and rejoice, and surely the saints shall hear it and implore God for your success. May I silently love you. We extend our gratitude, one and all, to Lord Maitreya, the cosmic Christ and planetary Buddha. His efforts on our behalf we will carry with us. Many times I have had suggested to me that the audience has left the room so quickly after an ascended master address. But as the Irish would say, the stirring of the stumps has occurred very rapidly. And out we go into the world, to the outside, carry on with our talk and our thoughts. As we sit here tonight in the radiation that he has left, reminiscent of his coming, let us absorb it. Let us drink it in. Let us not let go of it. There is no weariness of the flesh or spirit that should deprive us of this our birthright. Let us, by a conscious act of will and faith, ask our divine presence to help us, to take it in. It is here yet. It is still with us. Let us reach for it. Let us grasp it. Let us be grateful for it. May the peace of the living Christ abide with you always. May there be no night in your consciousness. May the faith of God be so great within you as to move the mountains of mortal adversity from your pathway. And may the world be brighter forever because we have loved and listened tonight. Pax vobiscum. The question arose in my heart as to what is meekness. And as I pondered long and hard upon it, it came to pass that I perceived that the meek were not without strength. For it was given unto them to inherit the earth. And I knew that those to whom God gave the gift of inheritance would necessarily be strong. I gazed upon the pageant of man, and I saw how that in metaphor, dispensing with time and space, we could see all men as coming forth from the Son of God's love, a vast parade, a pageant, a drama so full of poignant memory, some benign and much suffering, that I pondered upon this also, and I came to realize that one's country had meaning, for after all, the segmentation of men and women into nations is symbolical of a certain divine intent. For classification of peoples is also the creation of many sheepfolds. But I understood that the Master of Masters desired one sheepfold. Yet this could not come all at once, but little by little men would be able to externalize the knowledge of science, the knowledge of genetics, the knowledge of humanities, the knowledge of life, the knowledge of spirit, the knowledge of universal lore, all the multitude of components that make up the conglomerate creation must be assembled in consciousness. That they exist in substance is not enough, for each must run the fingers of his mind over the anomalies of manifestation. O Mother Russia, thou art the mother of so many souls, even as China and the hordes thereof. And you have brought into manifestation many children. Their Slavic ways are not always the ways of emancipation. Searchers for liberty are they, and the icons on the walls, together with the bubbling pots, the tea, the cakes, the peasants, the struggle, the mighty life wave, all composes a vast horde who seek for liberty and create bondage. I saw this great manifestation as a child, and as I gazed upon it, I froze in the wonder of it all, and my mind refused to accept it, and I cast aside reason as to the winds, and I opened my heart to the simple oneness of God, and I spake unto him and communed with him who is beyond the stars. And I said unto him, O Lord, there is too much in manifestation, I cannot grasp it all. I said, come unto me and help me, for the world is a wilderness, peopled with dark shapes and distortions, and I must of necessity have thy power and thy glory, for surely thou who hast created all this, thou hast an eye to see it and behold it. Surely thy mind can comprehend it, if mine cannot. And I spake unto him, and I cast myself upon him, and I received an answer as a child, and a very beautiful being of light was sent to me in my room. And this beautiful being of light was he who is known to you as Archangel Gabriel. And he came unto me, and he said, Hail, Igor! God has heard thy prayer, and he has sent me unto thee. Know then that I will guide thee throughout thy life, and I will be to thee a friend, and I will seek to produce in thee the manifestation of the wonderful consciousness of Jesus, which his mother Mary held for him. And I will be as a father unto thee, and as a mother, and thy troubled heart will be comforted this day, and thou shalt find that God will open up understanding unto thee, and little by little impart unto thee his grace. And thou shalt no longer be just as a peasant boy called Igor, but thou shalt be a son of the Most High God, for in thee God has generated a flame this day. It is the flame of thy I Am presence, the flame of thy being, that appeared to Moses in the burning bush. And God is no respecter of men's persons, but in every age and time listens to the heart calls of the children of men. Know then that God hath heard thy call, and I am sent to do his will. With that moment, Archangel Gabriel and I became fast friends, and there were many visitations from him from time to time. I was taken by him out of the body, even during the night hours, and I communed with many of the Brotherhood throughout the great temples of the Brotherhood in the world. But as I passed over the city of Moscow and Kiev and many of the other great cities of Russia and the plain country and the mountains, my heart was always touched with the ruggedness of the land and the great struggle in the hearts of the people. And I felt as though it were a sleeping giant that one day would awaken and trouble the peoples of the world. And when we were aware of the coming destruction of the Tsar and his family, and we realized that the Red Dragon would march across the nation, I spent hours upon my knees imploring God to provide some measure of assistance. I remember then that one evening, a very special evening, there came to me a manifestation of the beautiful Lady of Fatima. She came to me and she discussed also the terror of the Red Dragon and how that the world would be viciously troubled by it, and how that only by great struggle and repudiation of this fraudulent desecration of the light would mankind ever be able to roll back the hordes of materialistic darkness and shadow. I remember that I clutched her robe in my hands, and as Jacob wrestled with the angel, I would not let her go. I remember that she lingered with me for many an hour beyond her intent, and I said, "O Mother of God, will you help me to help these people? I cannot bear it. I cannot bear the bloodshed, the ideas of terror, and the awful grasping in the hearts of these people. I ask you to help me. What can I do? I will give my life if it will save these people." And she gently patted me on the head and said, "Igor, there have been others before you who have offered their life to God to assuage the awful torment of material life. But there are karmic circumstances and situations beyond mortal control, even beyond the control of God. For he has put his laws into operation and entrusted certain dominions unto lesser forms of consciousness, and they have free will. By the misuse of their free will, they have wrought all this destruction. And only when their free will turns to seek the things of the Spirit will they truly make the world to be free." I accepted her love and her wisdom, and my heart was assuaged, but the terror burned on. And throughout my life, as I sought to be a pilgrim in a strange country, I aspired to attain something higher that I might free men. By and by, through the solemn ritual of the sacred mantras, of my devotion toward God, of my one-pointedness, it came to pass that I was finally made ready for the moment of my ascension. And when it was given to me, it was not with mortal witnesses, but I went up alone, but quickly found that I was not alone. For around me were many bright beings, and I knew at last that I had gone home. Beloved ones, the messenger thought that I would tell you my name, and he paused, hoping that I would. And I think that I shall some future time reveal it. I prefer for the moment to remain one whom you call the unknown master. I want you to have my feeling of devotion to world good, to the plan of God, And thus I have brought you this day, not so much my wisdom as my feeling, my devotion, my love for God, who has made all things so lovely and so well. If you choose to accept me and to understand my devotion, if you choose to make it a part of your life, I am sure that it will please God, for then I know that sacrifices will not be so hard for thee, for you will understand, one and all, that your divine presence is your eternal home, even as it was the source of your life. Peace be with you. O great central sun, we return these flames back to thy heart. Each flame ablazing here in this room as a living flame, composing the body of the keepers of the flame, is representative of God in form. We invoke the majesty of love, the majesty of light and holy wisdom, and the majesty of power on behalf of every life stream, the power of God unto salvation, the illumination of God unto Christly manifestation, and the love of God unto true brotherhood. Take your right hand and touch your heart. Raise your torch of life high into the atmosphere as we pledge our allegiance to Saint Germain's. I pledge allegiance to Saint Germain, the Knight Commander of the Keepers of the Flame.
The Knight Commander of the Keepers of the Flame.
I am God's child.
I am God's child.
From God's own heart.
From God's own heart.
I pray thee.
I pray thee.
Now. My victory start.
My victory start.
Let none deter.
Let none deter.
The course of love.
The course of love.
That leads us to our home above.
That
leads us to our home above. I am God's light.
I am God's light.
And life.
And life.
And love.
And love.
'Twill keep me.
'Twill keep me
Safe.
safe.
Oh, every day.
Oh, every day.
And guide me on my holy way.
And guide me on my holy way.
I am a pilgrim.
I am a pilgrim
Of the Lord.
of the Lord.
I love this cause.
I love this cause.
His name adored.
His name adored.
Complete thy plan.
Complete thy plan.
In me today.
In me today.
And every day.
And every day.
For I am free.
For I am free.
Freeborn I am.
Freeborn I am.
And free I stand.
And free I stand.
To hold this torch.
To hold this torch.
In every land.
In every land.
Peace, beloved ones. Is there room in the chamber of your heart for me? Do you have a receptive consciousness to your own God-directed consciousness of victory? Does there beat within your heart the rhythm of determinate effort, consecration and reconsecration to immortal purpose? I am come this night to feed the flame of victory within your being, to consecrate your effort to Christ-illumined seeing. Peace then, blessed ones, whose struggles to understand are legion. Let go of the struggle to understand and learn the science of life, the science of life that understands the law just to be, to feel the love of the Creator consciousness in its descending currents of cosmic wholeness. The mystery of Christ regeneration has escaped the age and mass, but it lingers and is nourished in the hearts of those few, by relative comparison, who understand the meaning of devotion to the uttermost. Devotion to a purpose that does not yield 1 inch of ground to the adversary of the infinite purpose. Co-measurement is the word, the vital essence referenced by the Brotherhood that captures the mind and feeling of man and causes him to see and to know that he is a son of God, destined to inherit the earth by reason of his meekness in struggle. That is the victorious power of God that rises into active pulsation because the human ceases to struggle and the divine takes over, and the fiber of the will of God infuses the mortal form and raises the corners of the mind until all 4 corners of the mind are exalted, and there is no longer any sense of struggle but a sense of victory, which is the very consciousness of the Master Jesus, now today and during his Galilean ministry of service to the earth, and the demonstration of a cosmic love that did not begin with the appearance of the star in the sky in the east, but was long a promise fulfilled, coming then to fruition in the time of David, as the psalmist declared, "Thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, nor suffer thine Holy One to see corruption." What is the meaning of that for every man? Men fear death, and yet prior to birth, where were they? Where were they 1 hour before their birth? The physical form in the womb of the mother, quivering with the energies of her heart, did not pulsate to the divine rhythms of the individual's consciousness until the inflow of the holy breath from the heart of God Then pneuma began, and life pulsated within, and the flame of God was flung to the wind within the individual consciousness that took it and bore that flame among men wheresoever the individual desired to go. When a consecrated life is reached and surrender is born in the consciousness, one no longer desires to direct the flow of their life energies. They are aware that the will of God has already from the beginning made inherent within the consciousness of man a destiny pattern to be fulfilled for each life stream, and therefore the consciousness of God does command that those who will be obedient to the purposes of life and the purposes of victory will understand the rhythm of the Divine One, and will understand that this is the power of the sun behind the sun, the noble effort of God, which will outbreathe and outpicture as pattern in those who surrender themselves to the will of God. To understand that surcease from struggle when consciousness is surrendered to God and not to any other spirit or consciousness is a very definite activity of light which infuses the soul with the consciousness of God. Victory! God victory! God victory! God victory! This is a different sense than the individual who declares before mankind, I have won the race. What is this spirit then that is acting within man? Is this the spirit of one who desires to assert his power over his fellow men? Or is it the power of God active within him that knoweth the way every step thereof, and determines to take the child's son by the hand and lead him, not to keep him confined to the status of a child or to the state of consciousness where he is dependent upon God, but intends to push him from the nest of divine consciousness as a bird, no longer a fledgling, full grown and ready to fly with wings of infinite victory into the holy sky of cosmic purpose. Men do not even understand purpose. They do not even understand the meaning of life. They do not even understand the meaning of themselves. They blink an eye and they wonder because life does not obey them, and they are fully aware of the fact that they have blundered again and again. But sometimes individuals say to them, you must not think that you have blundered, for this is a negative thought. Well, precious ones, be this so. What men must understand is that God does not blunder, and therefore they must learn to decipher the engrams of his thought forms and his consciousness for and on behalf of them individually, so that they may outpicture that life which was from the beginning their immortal destiny, which is this moment their immortal destiny, and which will be in all future days to come the fullness of that purposed life which God holds for every man. Unless men and women are ready to surrender, there is no hope for them save round after round of mortal consciousness, and the struggle and the straying goes on. And I think, if you will pardon the expression, the braying goes on rather than the praying. I tell you that there is a time to smile, and if you can smile at yourself as you were, and understand that you need not be that way, as Balaam the son of Bozar was, who was rebuked by the dumb ass speaking with a man's voice, understand then that the will of God is supreme. And had Jonah understood it, he would not have lain within the whale's belly, and the great fish would not have been prepared to swallow him up. I have used this term because of familiarity, and I did not actually intend you to understand that Jonah was swallowed by a whale, but by a great fish which was prepared to swallow him up. Understand then that what I have in mind for you is something greater than that. It is the process of initiation which was mentioned this very day by the address of Holy Amethyst, who was, as some of you know, the angel of comfort who appeared to the Christ in Gethsemane's garden and assisted him when he sweat, as it were, great drops of blood. How many of you have sweat great drops of blood in the struggle to understand, in the struggle to pray, in the struggle to decree, in the struggle to study to show thyself approved unto God? How many of you have actually in this day and age been within the state of consciousness that causes you to recognize that you must put forth a more than ordinary effort? Now, do not be confused. Why do I say to you with one moment, you must cease the struggle, and in another moment say unto you, you must put forth the effort? I say it unto you because you must have faith in your victory, and your faith that is generated within you will inspire you to do the things that you know to be the will of God, in that full faith that God is directing you even when you do not see his hands. This was spoken by Jesus unto Thomas when he said so clearly, blessed are those who believe and see me, but more blessed are those who believe and do not see. Ponder that mystery in your heart, blessed ones, and understand tonight that as I am addressing you, I am also projecting my consciousness into the great golden record room in the Grand Teton Ranges. And there is tonight a solemn conclave going on there, a meeting perchance, which is not really perchance, but was called by special decree. And that meeting, blessed ones, which is taking place right now, is a meeting intended to bring about certain specific plans for the endowment of man and the endowment of the youth of the world with some understanding of the problems of this age and the power that true religion plays in releasing mankind from his mortal sense of obligations enough so that he can absorb the concept of his spiritual responsibilities. Do you understand what I mean? If individuals would struggle for their spiritual attainment as they struggle for mortal bread and for status before men, the victory would be won quite soon. And here we come to the 40 days in the wilderness when the Christ was hungered after 40 days of fasting, and the evil one came to him and said, command these stones that they be made bread, and cast thyself down from this high place. For it is written, he shall give his angels charge over thee, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. And the word came back in ringing denunciation without struggle, in a simple, forthright statement. For the Christ felt no sense of struggle, nor the desire to contend with the evil one. He did not resist evil in the manner of a vicious attack. He abode within the format of the sacred word, and he uttered the word with firmness, and his lips tensed with firmness as he spake out from the God flame of his heart and said, get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. You thought that I said that. It was the Master Jesus who beamed that to you this moment, that you might hear the vibratory action of the firmness with which he spoke. And it was intended that you might emulate him, even as we have done, and have obtained our victory by emulation of every avatar and every son. For all whom God has loved enough, and all who have loved God enough, have ascended, as Elijah did, in a chariot of fire, back to the heart of God. Are these not all then worthy men? Worthy, that is, as spiritual men, And what of the angels who came to the house of Lot when the children of Sodom would enter into the house and destroy the virtue of the maidens? What of those beings who caused by spiritual power a blindness to come upon them, and did lead Lot out of unrighteous Sodom and carry him high up and out of danger, while the atomic substance of the atmosphere was ignited by the word of these great master presences who came forth from the karmic board to render judgment in the name of God to the plain cities of Sodom and Gomorrah? What of them? They were manifestations of the one, as were those gentlemen who came of old to Abraham and spake unto him the words of promise, saying, Surely thou shalt conceive a son, and call his name Isaac. And Sarah laughed by the tent, and the Lord spake unto her out of the voice of the Master, and said, Surely this thing shall come to pass. And thou laughest. And she said, Nay, I did not laugh. And he said, Nay, thou didst laugh. And this thing shall surely be. And it was. And the child of promise was born. But what thoughts filled the heart of Abraham when he was sent to the altar to offer this son of promise unto God? What of that moment? What did he think when he raised high the dagger to strike a blow to the son of his heart? He stood ready and willing to obey. But has God required it? Did God require it? I tell you, nay. And so, the sacrifice of identity which men make, the sacrifice of self-reign which men make, consecrating themselves to God and his will, is not at all an act of desolation or of death. It is an act of consecration to life and life's purposes. And God will restore the life reigns to the individual when they have demonstrated their willingness to achieve victory, when they have become mature enough in consciousness to deserve to hold the reins. It is an act of mercy indeed that God himself stands ready and willing to assist every life stream in attaining their victory, and accepts the sweet surrender of their souls, and rejoices because of their consecration and devotion to his purposes. You must understand, precious ones, how real all of this is, and how unreal is the sense of struggle that is proclaimed by many of the adherents of the various religious faiths of the world, who do not understand the teachings and tenets of the faith they seek to promulgate. They do not understand the meaning of the vicarious at-one-ment. They do not understand the meaning of faith. They do not understand the meaning of consecration. They do not understand, yet their prayers rise, and their hearts are touched by feelings of divineness, and there is a soul hunger within them, and they yearn to understand and know more, but they stand ready to rebuke the child of flesh who is attuned to the cadences of the Spirit, because the individual who is directing to them the word of truth does not uphold the tenets of the faith they have been taught from their mother's knee. But what of the cosmic mother? What of the eternal truth? What of the fruit of the Spirit? What of immortal life? They do not recognize then that holy truth is not always readily perceived through the apertures of life manifestations. They do not realize that behind the appearance world there is an invisible world of cosmic promise, and that life that stands behind the veil is more real and transcendent than all life that stands here on this mortal side of the veil. But tonight I have said enough upon that subject, and I am interested in causing you to accrue a sense of victory, regardless of whether or not it is by the acceptance of my flame of victory, by the acceptance of the flame of the victory of Jesus the Christ, by the acceptance of the flame of any master anywhere, or whether it is by your own direct apprehension of the flame of victory from the heart of your own I am presence. We are not concerned with a sense of struggle over doctrines and tenets. We are only seeking to illumine you and to create a concept of beauty in your hearts that will enable you to understand higher truth. If you desire to hold on to the particular tenet or idea which you have held on to for many a year, and you choose not to relinquish it or cognize that there are greater revelations to be made, that is well and good. If you can make your ascension and achieve your victory, with what knowledge and what flame now burns within your heart, heaven is not here to terrorize you or to threaten that which you desire to hold close. We only desire to expand the dimensions of your consciousness because we believe from what we can see of your life records that you have a need of the cosmic sense of victory of the avatars of God and the blessed teachers of the great white brotherhood. We believe that you need the flame that we proffer to you tonight. We believe that you need it and that it will provide an additional impetus to the hungers of your soul, which will help you to find your way to the eternal magnet and the love that that magnet of God's heart generates. Won't you please be seated in God's name? Blessed ones, you stood for your victory tonight when you arose to your feet. Do you realize then that although there was a certain mimicry of motion as individuals saw others rising to their feet, by that mimicry of motion there was a consent of your holy Christ selves to that which I am speaking, and therefore I am permitted, almost in absentia as it were, because you have not voted upon it, to give you by cosmic law a golden ball of my victory. And I have asked that the great presses of heaven be struck, and that there issue forth then a golden ball of victory, which I desire to come to you tonight. I do not intend that you shall receive it during this service. I desire that you shall receive it in the aloneness of sleep. And therefore tonight I have asked that an angel of record shall come to those who have the faith to understand that I speak truly, and that they then who have that faith may look to receive during the night within the force field of their identity a magnetic golden ball charged with the vibratory action of my victory. This is the gift that I give to you tonight because you have made the effort to come here and have demonstrated by your faith in remaining that there is an activity of light and cosmic consecration taking place for the invincible cosmic honor flame of God that intends that man shall not vegetate or remain to crystallize as Lot's wife did, but shall find their freedom not through rebirth, but through consecration here and now to that purpose that beats your hearts. Understand then that the flame of victory which I wield is a tangible offering. Understand then that the flame of victory which I am is a consecrated effort on behalf of all the mankind of earth. This is not a puny, paltry manifestation of someone's consciousness. It is not an activity of this messenger. It is not an activity of which he is capable. It is an activity of which no man is capable unless he be in the ascended state. And it is an activity that should cause you to clench your fists and say, I am determined to win my victory, so help me God. This is a plea before the bar of infinite justice, and it is heard by the lords of karma, who sit not so much to judge as to provide the impetus of opportunity to all. May I then say to you a little mystery this night to the average individual? Individuals do not know this, and therefore I desire to proclaim it. So great is the karma-making apparatus upon the earth planet for most of the life streams embodied here, that we find it necessary to enter plea before the karmic board again and again for a condition which we call hold in abeyance, so that individuals' karmas are constantly being held in abeyance, and they do not descend except in part upon individuals. This is to give them, to afford them an opportunity in the name of divine love to find their way back to the Father's house without the terrible weight of oppression of their own inequities resting fully upon them. However, some of the masters have occasionally found that individuals have sought to perform acts of destruction against the children of light, and therefore, knowing that the children of light could well go down because of the tremendous viciousness of human thought and feeling, we have found it necessary to enter requests on occasion with the karmic board, and an individual's record is brought to us, and we write upon it, "Put back into circulation." And at that precise moment, the great hammer and judgment of the law falls upon a life stream, and they find that there is indeed recompense from God, and this is that which was spoken of, saying, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord." Understand then that this is the law of love that chastens every son whom God receiveth, and scourgeth him who pruneth mankind when they become too ambitious in an evil way, so that they may be curbed, and that which they do may be stopped as precipitate in the world of form of a continually rising tide of evil. We desire to see the world free from evil, the terrors of black magic, the destructive activities of witchcraft, and the awful brooding of mankind toward assassination of political figures in the world who may in some cases represent the will of God for the people. Again and again, individuals throughout the world have become victims of the terrible horror and blight of assassination. At the present time, there are certain activities in this country which are coming to light, which are shocking many individuals. I would like to say to you that this very messenger recently made a trip down into the Southland on behalf of the hierarchy in order to direct certain currents into circulation in world affairs, which were instrumental in seeing that a certain indictment was returned. You must understand that the Brotherhood have many messengers who perform various services, but few who stand as this one does before you in order to declare the living truth in vital flaming substance from the octaves of light. Individuals may consider themselves as messengers of God in everything that they do. They may consider that if they till the soil, that they are acting the part of the great sower who goeth forth to provide sustenance to the mankind of earth. And yet I am certain that many of you are aware of the demographic problems facing mankind, which certainly predicated into the future will reveal clearly that it would be impossible, unless there are changes in mankind's habit patterns, to sustain life, simply because there would not be enough food to sustain the projected population figures. You must understand then that a mighty law of life is activated always on behalf of the mankind of earth and to govern human affairs. The great white Brotherhood are the watchdogs, although I am sure that they would not care to be called watchdogs, and I have used the term purely in order to fit in with the pattern which mankind themselves use. They are then, and I choose to use another term, the guardian watchman for mankind over all of mortal affairs, and they have a power that is known as the power of cosmic veto, an overriding power that when individuals continue to direct themselves in a course of evil and follow the downward trend, they are able then to use this power of veto and to direct cosmic currents of karma in such a manner as to change and alter the course of history. However, this power of the great karmic board is limited within the domain of mankind and balanced against human free will. This is a very delicate and subtle subject, scarcely understood by most among mankind, and best understood by the members of the karmic board themselves. Now then, I have given you some instruction, which I trust will be of some assistance to you in generating that fear of God which is the beginning of wisdom. Perfect love casteth out all fear, for fear hath torment. But you must understand both thesis and antithesis. You must understand that the law and the law of words and the science of words and human semantics and divine semantics is also able to convey a host of ideas to mankind in order to challenge their consciousness to study to show themselves approved unto God, and that they may learn how to use that blessed mind which God has given them in a proper manner. You must understand then that human reasoning of a deductive nature, when properly employed, teaches mankind the use of the powers of the mind. Inductive reasoning is also effective, and so the whole syllogism of mortal reason becomes then an exercise in consciousness. But there is a reason and a system of reason far above the reason of mankind, which men can learn. It is the a priori reasoning of the soul of God. It is the reasoning of that soul within, which is not limited by the dimensions of the senses, and very easily goes forth into space and comes back with an answer. These are the arrows of light that fly through space to the cosmic goal mark and return unto the individual who sent them forth as a boomerang of light, conveying an essential message to the soul which shows individuals how they may obtain their victory through hope. And hope is a consecration of God's law. For hope, when it is properly identified, enables men also to objectivize that which they hope for. Understand then that the mind of man can become saturated with the laws of God until those laws of God in the hearts and minds of men, showing men how to hold a sacred vision, are able to magnetize and draw into the world of the individual such love as to sweep the earth and remove the currents of oppression and depression which occasionally are borne about the world as by the winds of deceit and confusion. Men must understand that they ought not to be subject to any other spirit than the Spirit of God and the Spirit of truth. They ought not to accept any other spirit save the Spirit of victory. They ought not to accept any other sense than the sense of victory. And I tell you, this is not a case of playing a game of charades. It is not a case of self-deceit. It is not a case of mortal reason. It is a case of divine reason being encased within the human heart and expanding the flame thereof until a new and fresh start can immediately be commenced with every downfall. The moment you fall down, the moment you feel a sense of weakness or oppression, the moment a cloud of darkness appears in your mind, the moment you feel that you are not expressing the fullness of the Christ, at that moment and not waiting for another moment, you should seize the opportunity to assert the power of your own divine victory. Call unto me and I will answer you. Call unto me and ask me to give you my flame of victory at that moment, and see if I do not flood your being with light. Call unto me and recognize that I am there, I am here, and I am there, and I am ever responsive, coming from the farthest corners of universal consciousness to bring you that self-same flame of cosmic victory which I brought even to many, many sons of God in the past eras of time. Understand then that even before I ensouled the flame of victory, that there was one who went before me, who is now truly a magnificent being for another system of worlds and another universe entirely. I tell you that my name, which is victory, is also my office. And I tell you that I am willing tonight to give you an opportunity to be assistants to me in the world of form, to spread the concept of cosmic victory everywhere you move, to spread the concept of Christ's victory, of his victory over sin, of his victory over death, of his victory over shadow, of his victory over all outer circumstances and conditions. Will you accept then that flame of victory which I bring? Will you utilize it in your daily living from now on? Are you ready and willing to understand that this is not an ordinary activity? If it never existed, any longer than this moment to assert the power of victory, it would have justified its reason for being. It has a greater raison d'etre, and it will certainly manifest it as you, who are the adherents of this activity, understand that its real purpose is an invisible purpose, the mind of God to be fulfilled among men, the plan of God to be externalized, the radiance of God to overcome the darkness of the world, and the light of God to stand supreme, reigning from summit heights upon mankind, the golden latter rain of cosmic Christ illumination, that the sons of God may indeed see the vision of his perfection, that they may speak with a new tongue, loosed from the power of darkness, and clearly obtaining for all who will the power of freedom's flame and God illumination. That Christ be glorified is my desire now, and it should be yours. And if it be yours as it is mine, then the universal Christ, the light of the world, will be glorified in you both now and evermore. I say, let divine intelligence increase, and let it be multiplied. Go not forth to deceive mankind by illusions of your consciousness, as some have done. Be not harbingers of false doctrines or teachings. Go not forth and submit to spirits of darkness and shadow that masquerade with sheep's clothing. They are wolves, I tell you, and you must beware of them. Go forth into the world of form and bring mankind awareness of the clarity of our vision, of the clarity of your own. Represent us in the world of form as ladies and gentlemen of cosmic intelligence, and make men proud of the work that is being done, even as men are proud of the work that your own beloved Saint Germain accomplished during his manifestation as Sir Francis Bacon and in his release throughout the Shakespearean plays. Make men proud of all that is of light and the glory of God, that they may come gladly and willingly into the fold, not to think that you are deceitful people or foolish people deceived by the peepings and mutterings of some strange spirit, but by the clarity of the vision of the living Christ that has arisen within you with healing in his wings, and the vision of hope to the world that waits for the sunrise of their victory now and forever. I thank you because I love you, and I trust that when my voice ceases to speak and my vibrations cease to activate your hearts as they are now doing, you will realize that just behind the veil of beingness I stand, and you can call to me, and I will answer you in those moments when you need me. Victory to all the world in the name of the living Christ. In memory of the Master Jesus, drink ye the cup of his consciousness, of his spirit. Go forth in emulation and be lights everywhere you move. So shall God be glorified not by one son, but by many, and the hearts of the captives shall go free. The sign of the heart and the head and the hand to you. May the peace of your presence abide with you wherever you are, wherever you go. May the glorious peace of the presence flow through days of service and nights of rest. May the peace from your presence keep you blessed, the sign of the heart and the head and the hand to you. The brotherhood of light eternal, the spirit of the great white brotherhood, saluteth all who linger in memory of him who taught us to say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I am. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth even as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us when in temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.